prevent the e4 or anything. In fact, make the white pieces completely unable to go out. And now we see another positional move. The positional idea in similar positions is that all in all, what we have to find is to manage a better pawn structure. In fact, the main plan of Steinitz in this type of position was to organize a better type of, to formulate a better pawn structure, which is going to give him further on better activity for his pieces, and once he gets this better activity, he can promote them on stronger positions, where he can manage threats or create problems in front of white. By playing the move of c5, white's activity with d4 is simply unavailable. So black is keeping this away, and as soon as the move of c5 came, of course white is unable to break through the center or do anything. White played the move of rook to b1, and as we can see, white has certainly no advantage at any part of the board, and yet he resolves a pawn attack. That was the style of Andersen. I believe that Andersen was a great attacker and one of the strongest players, as I said, for his time. Yet again, his positional knowledge about the principles that Steinitz developed was small. So in result, he was just playing singular moves without really preparing any outline for his pieces, without thinking about a long-term type of strategy. So after rook to b1, black played simply knight e8. So you can see black is gradually building on. His intention is to play f5, which will help him to acquire probably some more space on the king's side, and then after f4, g5, and potential promotion of his pieces on the king's flank, black will be definitely well placed. Once the move of knight e8 actually comes through, white tried to open up some lines on the queen's flank. That seems to be the only way how he can proceed. But this is again pretty much short-term activity. After c takes to b, rook takes to b, and c5, we see that because white hasn't prepared enough, he can't achieve anything on the queen's flank. To my mind, it was just a waste of time. After the white rook came back to a4, then black simply played bishop to d7, attacking the rook. The rook came back to a3, and what now? Well, let's carry on our own plan and activity. Steinitz utilized one rule, and it was that basically the preparation of the plan is always what actually guarantees its success. It's not the tactical vision, and it's not actually the opportunity to manage some more threats against the opponent. It's always important to figure out that and consider it, but yet the preparation is the main thing. And now what we found is that white hasn't prepared, and result his rook is stuck. Look at how awkward it looks on the a3. In result, black has to avoid any deflection from his main area and the plan, and that's why he went with f5. The phalanx of black's pawns now marches on the king's side, and his intention is to advance them as far as it's possible. By doing that, he's going to manage even more threats in front of white's position, and so after f5, queen to b1, trying to set up the queen around, then king h8 coming on with an idea to advance on the king's side. Okay, king h8, queen to b7, black simply played a5. Stabilization is now made. One of the things that really strikes us as a particularly bad for white is that most of his pieces are completely discoordinated. So pretty much what we can find in this position is that in general black can manage f4, g5, bishop f6, and so forth. So therefore he played a5 instant. Rook to b1 was white's move to follow it, and as soon as that happened, black played a4. There are no more targets in sight, so white's troops, as we can find, are wholly disarranged. And after the move of a4, this rook, this one of the major pieces, the heavy artillery, is right now completely stuck on the queen's flank. That rook, as well as the major part of his other pieces, cannot be utilized in any way. So after the move of queen to d8, black decided to follow with one of the key concepts of the strategy. What is that? One of the things that we got to do in order to make the opponent's diversion, because white is really starting a diversion here, most of his pieces are unprepared, is to deal with the opponent's strongest, or as I like to call them, most advanced pieces. Once we manage to do that, most of the threats or any kind of resources that the opponent has to advance in a given area will simply be neutralized. So, black found the best way to do it. First and foremost, we need to deal with this queen. Let's do queen c8. This queen now is supporting the c3 square, which will be very nice and useful for the bishop so that it will attack the queen. And that's how we'll neutralize this queen and get forward with our plan later on. Neutralization of the opponent's major pieces is one of the basic ideas how we can prepare our activity and the plan in a much better way. Steinitz used it in a perfect way. After rook to b6, black played even rook a7, a necessary prophylactics. Now black is opening the attack in earnest. He threatens f takes to e, and eventually if white recaptures with d takes to e or something, bishop takes h3 can follow, and of course the f3 knight will be hanging. After white's king came up to h2, black locked up with f4. Now white's bishop is terrible. As we can find, most of the white pieces are completely ineffective. Ineffective means pieces that are not doing anything. Both knights, the bishop on d2, and especially the stuck rook on a3 don't do anything. I don't suppose that with the queen on d5 and the rook on b6, white can really manage anything so superior. So after the move of bishop d2, black kept advancing. g5 came on. White's queen decided to get away because of the threat, eventual threat of the black knight, but then black simply made queen to d8. So what we can find is that these two pieces are nice, standing well, but as we can find the positional background, the foundation that black has made is a lot better than white's. And these all pawns really take away any attacking opportunities that Anderson can make. So his activity, his actual plan was completely busted right now. We find it was a failure, and of course as soon as black's queen came on d8, white's rook retreated to b1. Knight f6 came up to advance on the king's side. King g1. Of course, there will be g4 threats to follow, and white's king would want to be a little bit away from the check of the knight, like knight to g4. So that's why white played king g1. And then as soon as this move came, black played an extraordinary move. What is the best way for us to promote our plan in a better way once we are prepared enough? The plan and the success of the plan is always powered by only one thing: the concentration of pieces in a given area of the board. In fact, those pieces which are focused and to a certain extent coordinated on the given area where we attack are going to be the fuel of the success for our plan. And that's why black decided that knight h7 will be the most appropriate. This move literally prepares the further upcoming h5 to g4, which will attack white's knight. And imagine when the white knight retreats, then the queen will have the chance to come up to h4. White's king is now going to be the terrible target. And as soon as the move of knight h7 was played, king f1, deciding to run away, but to tell you the truth, I don't like that move. Black played h5, knight to g1 and g4. What happened with white's activity on the queen's flank? Well, to be honest, it got stuck. It was a complete failure. Now, whatever white tries on the queen's side, like knight a4, it's gonna be, you know, like just a trash there. After queen e8, of course, white will lose his knight because he can't move it since of the rook. And basically, there is no better word than stuck. White is completely stuck. After the move of g4, there is no way for him to get away, you know, from that position. And after the exchange, recaptures f3 with a chance to maybe take away f3 or something. Black played his own queen up to the h4, knight d1, and then knight g5. I don't know if you have heard, but basically queen and the knight included into the attack are really strong, and the pieces post themselves behind the phalanx menacingly. I believe that very soon the lines will be open, which will allow the major pieces of black to approach white's king, and I just don't see any way for white to organize even his pieces to defend. He tried bishop e1, against which black played with queen to h2. Seeing the upcoming threats which are going to follow, well, right now there could be g takes f, there could be rook f6, there could be rook to g6 or something. Seeing all of that, white just didn't know what to do. I just want to show how the game could have continued if white didn't play the desperate move. He played a desperate move of d4 right now. Maybe what would have happened if he was going to try queen d5? Well, I would just promote something like, let's say, rook to f6 in here. Probably white can give a try to rook to b8, but I wouldn't consider that as a really dangerous activity. I will play bishop f8, then the bishop is going to come out here, the rook will be transferred to g7, an exchange will follow, and I suppose you're old enough to say exactly what is going to see what are exactly going to be black's threats. Anyone can see that. So g takes f, knight h3 or knight xf, queen g2 checkmate, and anyone can mate white's king at this point. So basically at this point, after the move of queen to h2, white played d4. Desperation, in my opinion. The rook on the third rank at a3 shall be thrown into the fight, even at the expense of an important pawn. But unfortunately, it's too late. Black is not to be deterred by trife like this, and of course, after g takes f3, g takes f3, knight up to h3 attacking, and of course threatening a checkmate, bishop f2, knight takes to g1, and then bishop takes to g1. Of course, well, now we can have bishop h3, and this bishop is going to be lost, so white can do that. So after knight takes g1, he decided to make some complications, but black found a beautiful way to finish queen h3. If the king takes on g1, then of course a move like bishop to f6 will be terrible, so white can't meet it. The threats that will follow against the king would be simply superior. And so after king to e1, an only move to defend, knight takes to f3 check. Now of course if the king moves, the knight is going to retreat, and look at queen takes a3 coming. So white decided to win a tempo and probably exchange it first. Queen takes to f3, and black won quite easily. So, you see, Wilhelm Steinitz, who was the first world champion, went down in the chess history as the creator of a new doctrine of positional play, the essence of which was the following. Any plan in a chess game must have a justification, no matter if it's an attack or eventually if it's going to be a combination or whatever. So basically, the main difficulty for white in this game, the main problem which he was, experiencing, was that he wasn't having a justification. He was just following single threats without any preparation. And after a simple type of rejection from the black pieces, like black was quite capable to defend with easy ways, with easy moves, it happened that white was completely unprepared, and he wasted already a lot of time to organize a preparation. So as a conclusion to that game, we can say the following. If you want to become strong attackers or strong tacticians, you can't do that before you study the main concepts of the positional chess. It doesn't mean that you have to avoid studying tactics, or for example working on the games of the great tacticians. No, I don't say that. I'm just saying that as a first, in order to be able and play as great tacticians, in order to be able and really become great attackers, first and foremost you need to be good positional players. So my recommendation is to study mostly the positional play, planning, ideas of how we can actually prepare our attacks, and in the same time we can work on sharpening our combinational vision by studying the games of the great masters like Tal, like Alyoshin, like Kasparov. Maybe Kasparov is too complicated, but let's say Anderson, Morphy, to see how their games were actually quite well prepared based on the positional actual play that they started with, and that will help you to really understand all the essence behind the positional and tactical chess, and most importantly that will help you to positionally prepare your attacks and make them in a more significant way. So that's what I'd like to share about the positional and tactical chess, and my opinion of how I understand it and how I was able to improve by following these interesting ideas, and I hope that it might be useful to you as well. So thank you very much, and if you have any additional questions concerning these themes, please feel free to leave your comments behind the lecture, so I would be very grateful if you do that so that I can clarify any unclear things for you. Thank you very much once again.